Hi guys, welcome to today's lesson. Today's going to be a question and answer. I had some questions mostly about uh, keeping a gun chambered for self-defense purposes and how does that work. Basically, the questions specifically were for a self-defense gun or carry gun, do you keep it chambered? Is there a reason to unload the gun if it's supposed to be a nightstand gun? And does keeping around in the chamber negatively impact the gun in any way? No, for sure on that last one. Keeping a round in the chamber does not at all negatively impact the gun in any way. For a self-defense gun, me personally, I'm going to tell you, yeah, you need to keep it chambered. There's plenty of incidents out there where, as Clint Smith, I believe, says, you've got the rest of your life to solve this problem. If you've got to get around into that chamber, you may not have the time it takes to do that. Okay, self-defense shootings happen in like a second and a half. You know, whenever you need the gun to be able to put it into effect, you need it right now. Anything you do to slow down you being able to put that gun into action may be more time than you have. And you're counting on the fact that you have the ability to do that. All right, if you are injured or you're fighting somebody, are you going to be able to chamber that gun? Are you going to be able to work the slide? If this arm's damaged or you're fighting somebody off, you may not have the ability. Yeah, now there's techniques you can use. You can take the gun and use the rear sight and grab it onto your belt and use that to work the slide. You can work it off the heel of your boot, and you can work the slide off of other objects and stuff. That's something you don't want to have to do unless you have to do it, right? So we want to set ourselves up to succeed as best as possible. So we're assuming that if we're needing this gun for self-defense purposes, it's a bad day for us, right? So we want to be able to jump into the fight as fully as possible, as quick as possible. So I'm going to say yes, keep the gun chambered at all times. If it's a self-defense gun, once you've designated it as a self-defense gun, leave the gun chambered. Of course, security comes into play in that. All right, what I mean by that is, if you've got kids around or friends or buddies or, you know, random other people in your house, they shouldn't be able to get access to your gun. The easiest way for me to secure the gun is to keep the gun on me. All right, so if I'm at home, I keep the gun on me just like I do if I'm out in the world. So I don't have to worry about where is the gun, who's got access to the gun, is it being messed with by somebody that don't need to mess with it. If somebody breaks into the house, I don't have to worry about going to the gun and getting the gun because I've got the gun with me, so it's secure. Some people that may not be an issue, or they may want to have a specific bed stand gun. All right, so you're going to need to take some specific security measures to make sure that gun is secure. They have lock boxes of various types that have everything from key controls to combination locks to biometrics, where you can put your fingerprints and stuff in it and they'll open up for you. If you've got it locked in a box, then you can leave it chambered inside the box. If it's just laying on a nightstand, though, you got to address your security however, or in a drawer or whatever. You've got to address your security however works for you. Okay, if you live alone in an apartment, there's nobody else there, you're not having the neighbor kids over, you're not having your nieces and nephews, you know, all that kind of stuff over, leaving a gun in a drawer loaded, not a horrible idea. But you know, you are taking that risk security wise. Somebody breaks into your house, it doesn't take anything for them to open that drawer and get your gun. They've got a loaded gun there. Or if you have a party or something over, it's something else that you have to take responsibility for and remember, oh yeah, I've got a party, you know, people are going to be drinking, you know, I'm not going to be able to keep track of everybody that's here all night, so I'm going to have to make sure I secure my nightstand gun and stuff. Yeah, nobody should be in my room poking around in the nightstand, but could somebody be? You don't know. So if it's a nightstand or a bedroom gun or something like that, you have to take special security measures for it if you're going to just leave it that way. Still, for the defensive aspect of it, chambered is kind of the way to go. I do somewhat recommend for long guns, if you're going to use a long gun, shotgun or a rifle as a home defense tool, a full magazine with not one in the chamber may be the way to go. It's harder to get a device. There are devices that can secure long guns, like in closets and stuff, that are kind of like the pistol lock boxes, but they're a little more finicky. and you may not have the infrastructure in your house to put one like that. So a shotgun with a full tube in it and nothing in the chamber in the closet, or a rifle or something the same way, a rifle with a magazine loaded, nothing in the chamber. So when you get the rifle, you are going to have to work the slide to get it, or the charging handle, depending upon what the gun is. And the same with the shotgun, you're going to have to work the slide to chamber the round if you need it for self-defense purposes. Of course, it's better if you can just grab the gun, point it, and pull the trigger. But you have to balance your security, safety of the gun versus accessibility of it. Defensive gun on you, in a nightstand, in a lockbox, chambered all the way, all the time. Having a round in the chamber, does that negatively? No, it does not negatively impact the gun to have a round in the chamber. As a matter of fact, it's kind of the opposite. What you can run into is having a problem working rounds through the chamber. Okay, the cartridge itself is designed to go through the chamber and magazine really one time. Yeah, you can put it through there several times, but it's really made to go through there one time. And what you run into having a problem, and it's usually only a problem for law enforcement, is they do gun inspections sometimes whenever they show up, or at least some departments used to do gun inspections like at the first of a shift. Okay, so the sergeant or whoever would come through and check and make sure everybody had a loaded pistol before they went out on the street. Or they would check and make sure the gun was clean or functional or whatever. So they had to unload the gun, show the gun, load the gun, and go back. All right. And so what you would have is every day somebody's putting a round in the magazine, running it into the gun. The next day they're chucking it out, checking the gun, putting the round back in the magazine, and loading it. And so you wind up cycling the top two bullets in your magazine cartridges through the chamber several times. Okay. Those rounds, as they come scraping off what's called the feed lips. Okay. This is a magazine, and when that cartridge comes out of the magazine, it's rubbing against the sides of the magazine, and this part of the magazine are called the feed lips, and the round, it scrapes across those feed lips. All right, and when it does that, it's metal against brass a lot of times. Okay, like steel against brass. Steel's harder than brass. All right, and every time you scratch that brass against the steel, it's scratching it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 10 times, not a big deal. But if you do this every day, and you do it every day for a year, or you do it every day for 2 years, what's going to happen? Okay, eventually what you have is the sides of the brass is all scratched up and thinner, and whenever you're cycling the round into the gun, there's different parts inside the gun that are bumping against the bullet itself. What you can wind up having happen is push that bullet back into the case. Okay, and so every time you're pushing that round in there, you're shoving it back into the case just a little bit further. Like I said, 1 or 2 times, probably not going to happen. But if you do it every day for a couple of years, you're going to wind up pushing that bullet back in the case, and you're going to get a round that's not functioning properly. Or you push it back far enough, you could wind up getting something that's dangerous, overpressure in the round. So I don't recommend cycling bullets through chambers like that. Just they kind of call it the Barney bullet thing. But yeah, once you've loaded it, just leave it loaded. If you need to unload it to clean it, or you've decided not to use that gun, you're going to use something else. But once you've designated it as a go-to gun, it's the go-to gun, and go with it. But don't run the rounds in and out of it. One reason guys will do that is you'll hear the leaving magazines loaded because of the spring compression. Okay, so you have a magazine here. There's a spring inside there that's pushing all those cartridges up. If you keep that magazine loaded, it keeps the spring in there squished. All right. Well, they call it having the magazine take a set, where it won't have enough energy to push the cartridges all the way up and feed them reliably into the gun. This actually used to be a problem back in the Vietnam era. All right. But metallurgy and engineering and stuff is better now than it used to be. I've not had a problem with magazines. And if you have a magazine that was built in the last 30 years, you're probably not going to have a problem with it. Just leaving it loaded. Okay, I've had magazines I've left loaded for decades and shot them and not had any issues. But really, what you need to know about these is you need to be practicing with your stuff. Okay, I leave that magazine loaded a lot. All right, well, it wouldn't hurt me every now and then to shoot that ammo up, like once a year, once every 6 months or something like that. Shoot the ammo that I've got in my defensive magazine up. Does the magazine work? That's a good thing to know. It's a good idea to mark your magazines so that you know if you have a problem on the range you're shooting and your gun malfunctions every now and then. Is it malfunctioning because of one particular magazine? Is something wrong with this magazine? Is that magazine spring getting weak? Is the magazine feed lips damaged? Is there something wrong with the magazine? So if I have them all numbered or marked some particular way and I start having a malfunction with my gun, check and see if it's a particular magazine. If it is that one magazine, throw it away or mark it as training use only. All right. That way it doesn't wind up back in your rotation as a defensive piece. I hope this answered the question in particular there. If you guys have any other questions or comments on this video, additions to it, you can make them in the comment section there on YouTube, or feel free to email me, and I'd love more questions. I'd love to answer them. Thanks, guys. Be safe.